Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Okay, we're here on Daf Kuf Chavav, starting our Perek Yud, Klolos HaKol. This Perek is the introductory Perek, really, to the next number of Prakim. The next 2-3 Prakim are all really on the same topic. Until Perek Yud, Yud Aleph, and Yud Beis are all dealing with the same idea, and it's the idea of malchus. We're coming back to the idea of malchus that we discussed back in Chelek Aleph, the idea that Hashem is the melech, and he brings malchus. Just started. That Hashem is the melech, and when the melech comes in, there's a whole new world comes in, and the king uplifts everybody. So we're going back to that idea, and how that idea applies much more in the actual living of Shabbos. But before we get into the actual details of that, first we're going to go over some of the ideas of malchus again, and we're going to expand on that, and then we're going to bring that home practically. So let's start from the beginning of here in Perek Yud. Hidbar b'chelek Aleph shamalchus hi klolos hamedina. We explained way back in Chelek Aleph that malchus is what brings together the entire country. Country here is a reference to the Medina, the government. Could go in malchus paras. For example, let's say you have the kingdom of Paras, of Persia. Kol mahus anshe Medina mitpatelet el mitzius malchus paras. Each individual is part of the whole of what is called the empire, the country of Persia. You are a Persian. You are part of the Persian people. You are part of the Persian country. Each person is not an individual. Rather, you have a name. You are a citizen. You are a citizen. Shel HaMalchus. You are now Persian. In America, you are an American. This is a source of pride, right? It was famous, I think it was Kennedy, who said, ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you could do for your country, right? Meaning, look at the big picture. Look at, if we all join together, we can make something great. We can make something big. And that's the idea behind a malchus, behind people joining together in order to have safety, people joining together in order to accomplish things. If every person would be just an individual and all they did was care about themselves only, all the things that we need for the klal wouldn't get done. We need roads. We need power. We need water. We need a lot of different things that come from the government. And that only can come if there is a government that takes all the people together and does things for them. But that implies that also part of that is that the people have to be part of that. Obviously, there are many different types of governments, and there are many leaders of government who are corrupt as well, and they don't really care so much about the people themselves. They really care about more themselves, so maybe they give back a little bit, but they really take a lot more than they give. But the general idea behind government should be that the people are joining together, creating a form of leadership, so that leadership can take the power of all the people together in order to use that power to accomplish what the country needs. The day-to-day needs, the security, the health needs, all the needs of the country. That is the purpose, the ultimate purpose of having a government. Exactly how much and how little can be decided by the leadership. And the leadership either comes through a monarchy, a dictatorship. Democracy is fairly a recent invention. It's only been around for about 250 years, a little bit less. They had the Romans had a senate, but in general, those countries were still ruled by dictatorships. Meaning, yes, it's true, they did have such a form of government, but ultimately, at the end of the day, the dictator was the one who dictated everything. The Roman emperor was the one who dictated everything. Now, granted, they used to switch Roman emperors every year or so because each one would kill the other. But the Roman emperor had the ultimate power. The Caesar, I should say. That's what he was called. He had the ultimate power, even to kill off people in the Senate who he felt were threatening his hold on power. Right, killing each other left and right was a very common thing in those days. Certainly amongst the Greeks and the Romans, that wasn't usually kings. Caesars didn't last too long in that span of time because everybody wanted to kill everybody else in order for them to be in power. But anyway, the idea is still that the leader or the leadership had the opportunity, the ability to accomplish what they needed to accomplish because of all the people that are behind them. Because this malchus is the way that it brings the whole nation together. So therefore, the malchus also gives over a certain sense of culture to the entire nation. Different people from different areas have different face, right? The Chinese people look different than people from Europe who look from different than people from Africa. Everybody has a different face. That's when you're looking at a person, you can tell where he's from. Also the different languages. This is an essential difference. Like when HaKadosh Baruch Hu separated the people based on languages, it was to make an essential difference, meaning a difference in the very essence of the people. Different languages and different the sources of the meaning. Certain languages are more related to others. There are hundreds and hundreds of languages in the world today. Hundreds of languages. Many of them we wouldn't even know that they existed, but there are so many languages, and that helps define who the people are. And something with the style of clothing. Right? Maybe nowadays is more like a Western style. Even amongst the Western style, there are differences between the different types of clothing that different countries wear. That they wear different types of clothing. So even if people dress in suits for a business meeting, and maybe around the world you'll find that, but you'll also see that, okay, that's how you dress for a business meeting, but how do the people dress? How do the people of the country dress? How do you dress on your holiday? Right? And you see also the way that things change actually. In America, the way dress has changed in the last number of years, or even over the course of the history of the United States, how dress has changed to also that reflects how the country has changed. And that's also part of the culture of this country. And the way that the food is prepared. And the mentality is different from each nation. You can see the differences in architecture between different countries. What they build in one place is totally different than the way they build in another place. I think there was a project here in Beit Shemesh even, that it was advertised that we're going to build like they build in America. And that just didn't work. It didn't go. Because you can't build in Israel like they build in America, because the country is not meant for that. Right? In America, or at least in the New York area, they don't build houses out of steel reinforced concrete. That's not how it's built. It's built with wood. It's built with brick. In Eretz Yisrael, they build with concrete and steel and Even Yerushalmi. Now, granted, not every place has Even Yerushalmi, but still, the country you can't build with wood. You can't build whole houses with wood. There's just not enough wood in the country. Wood is a very expensive commodity, so it has to be different. It has to be built differently, but also the style is different. Not just the materials, but the style of building here in Eretz Yisrael is very different than you'll find in America, and that's the truth in anywhere in the world. It's very obvious when you go to the Far East and you see the way that they build in China or in Japan. The old buildings, the original buildings, maybe everybody's become more Western, but even in the more Western Arab country, these buildings are, amazing. They have these buildings you wouldn't believe. Even there, the different styles of architecture represent the different types of people. Tichnun akvishim, the way that they build the roads, the way the roads are done are different. So you see, this is all encompassing. It's part of the whole culture of what is the nation is dependent on this Medina, this government, this people is all together. The reason for this, malchus, the idea of the kingship, is the power, the power that's above, that is amongst the people. That is what keeps things running. What he calls the heart of the government, the malchus, the leadership is the heart of the government, of the heart of the country, because it's what gets things going. Just like the heart sends to all different parts of the body, so that each part of the body has the ability to function, so too the purpose of the leadership is to allow for all the other parts to work. The guf bechula kule evarim evarim, aval neshama einu mechulakas, ela kolelas is kol ramach v'shasa ka'achas. Now he's getting a little bit deeper over here, because he said that the malchus is the lave and the neshama of the Medina. Now the lave is just one part. Theoretically, a person could have, and people have had, heart transplants. It's an amazing thing. Your heart is what's keeping you alive. Right? So how can you have a heart transplant? If you take your heart out, then you'll be dead, right? How do they do heart transplants? So the answer is that, yes, the heart sends life to your whole group, but it's not the source of your life. The source of your life is your neshama. And the source of the seed of your neshama is in your brain. I've yet to hear of any brain transplants. That I haven't heard of. Right? They can cut, there's something called the lobotomy, that they can take out pieces of the brain. Right? I don't know if they've put in pieces of the brain. You can get, to put in a new brain into somebody. That I don't know. If somebody knows about that, you can tell me. But the point here is that what he brings out is that the neshama is different than the lave. The lave is one part of the body. There are a lot of other parts of the body. The neshama is every part of the body. The neshama is connected to all 248 limbs and 365 gidim in the body. The neshama is connected to everything. It's one thing. It's not 248 different neshamas. Each organ of the body has a different neshama. That's not how it works. It's all one. Im kein kasher mityachedet medino ploinis lemalchus ploinis. Therefore, if you would have a special Medina, this special Medina goes with this special malchus, meaning you have this country and it goes with this leadership. Specifically, these two go together, right? People wonder that certain countries in the world can never seem to escape a dictatorship. Never. No matter how hard they try, they can't escape a dictatorship. One country like that is Russia. Russia is a country that it was under a Tsar's leadership for hundreds and hundreds of years. Finally, the people got fed up, and they overthrew the Tsar, and they instituted communism. Now, communism, the idea behind communism is that the people are running the country, not just one big mean leader in the top. The people are running the country. That's the whole idea of communism. Well, what ended up happening? It became a dictatorship right away. Almost right away, it became a dictatorship. Lenin and then Stalin and until the fall of the Soviet Union, it was that way. And even after the fall of the Soviet Union, there was one very, very small tekufa right at the fall of the Soviet Union, where there actually was a real democracy. It lasted a few years, and then there was a new guy who came in. Putin. And Putin has been the king of Russia ever since, right? He's going on more than 20 years now. So some countries you have to look at it like, why? How come they can't get their act together? How come they can't create? Because that's the type of place it is. There's a very specific connection between the place and the leadership. And it has to be that way. Certain places, it has to be like that. And if it's not like that, it's just not going to work. Ironically enough, I mean, it might sound like it's bad, but actually there's certain places in the world where like the popularity the popularity of the leader is obviously skewed. The people the places where there are dictatorships, where the dictator, obviously, they puts in, he won 99.9% of the vote, and 98.9% of the people like him, and that 1% they're like in jail, they're on death row, right? Obviously, this is skewed because there's no such thing. There's no such thing. Everybody likes everybody else. But in certain countries, like even in Russia, where they have popularity, maybe some of it is skewed, but a lot of it is very true. The people like him for whatever reason. They like him. Maybe he's not the most popular like Kim Jong-un is, right? Sarcastically, obviously, right? But this is like part of their culture. They're taken care of. The people are taken care of. So if you're being taken care of, so then it makes sense. So there is a very specific connection between the particular country and the leader of the country. Some countries don't do well with democracy. They don't. So is democracy for everybody? Probably not. How do you know who's his or not? That's not my business. I'm not in that business. The point, coming back to what he's saying over here, is that Hashem knows when he sets up countries and he sets up leadership and he sets up all these things, he knows exactly which country, which leaders, who's supposed to be with who. The Rambam says about Mashiach that his heart is the heart of Klal Yisrael. Right? That the Melech, anybody who's supposed to be not just Mashiach, but anybody who is the king of Klal Yisrael, whatever kufa it is, so that person is a heart. He's the one who gives everybody what they need. V'chein am Yisrael. When it comes to Klal Yisrael itself, shebeklalu kinui lemidas malchus shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That they're called the country, the people of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shazu mitzias am Yisrael. This is the essence of Klal Yisrael. Masha HaKadosh Baruch Hu Malcolm. Like we've discussed in the past, that a Jew, a Yehudi, right, comes from the word Yehuda. Yehuda is a Shem Hashem with a little Dalet in it. What's the Dalet? Dalet means dal, means small. It's a Shem Hashem, small. We are the nation of Hashem. We're the human representations of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. We are the Memlechas Goanim Goy Kadosh. We represent HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are God's nation. B'dalim heim me'umas ha'olam. We are smaller than any other nation. B'kol tzuras ha'adam. We are the smallest nation in the world. Maybe not the smallest nation in the world, but a very, very, very small nation. Ukvar husad kol kach betchilas yitziras umasenu. And that's the way it was from the very beginning of our existence, of our nationhood. Shamru chazal shisrael b'mitzrayim lo shinu et lishonim. And this also, you see that the culture of Klal Yisrael was unique and special. And we saw that already from the times that Klal Yisrael started to become a nation. There were 70 members of Yaakov Avinu's family that went down into Mitzrayim, and there were millions. Because of the Nisim, there were millions that left Mitzrayim. And Lo Shinu et Lishonom, and they had a unique language. Malbushim, they had a unique clothing. Vishmoisim, and they had unique names. The Hainu Etzuras Hachayim Amiyuchadet Lahem, they had all of the aspects of their own self, their own essence. Shezeh Simon Shehem Adayin Tachas Malchus Shemayim. That shows that they have their leader, their Melech. Who's the Melech? Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu is our Melech. We are unique, just like the Persians have their culture, and the Americans have their culture, and the Russians have their culture, and the Spanish have their culture, and the French. The Jewish nation has their own culture, their own clothing, their own, until today, the Jewish people look different. They look different. We dress differently. We have different language. We look different. Even the goyim, when they want to be anti-Semitic, they'll do certain things to show, oh, that's a Jew. That's a Jew. They'll be able to pick out a Jew, right? How do you know he's a Jew? Look, he's wearing a Yankees hat. Right? And he's wearing, he looks like he's actually put together somewhat, right? I remember one time when I was on the subway in New York. If you've never been to New York, it's quite an experience in the subway. Some people, they take the subway all the time. They don't think about it anymore. But there are so many different types of people in the subway. So many different. And it's a little bit, you're amongst goyim. you're amongst goyim, so it's a little bit intimidating. You're a Jew and you're all amongst goyim. I remember sitting on a subway one time, looking around and thinking to myself after I looked around, wow, I'm the most normal guy on this train. It's crazy. When you look around, wow, every different color you can think of. And I'm not talking about skin. I'm talking about clothing. I'm talking about all the different kinds of things that are going on the subway. Right? You don't believe me? Just go onto the subway. You'll see yourself. Probably it's much worse than 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Klal Yisrael has a uniqueness. That uniqueness is a representation of a Kodesh Baruch Hu. We have our own special, unique life. We are connected to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And Mitzrayim, they were still connected to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Malchus Paru Mitzrayim we did not become Egyptians in Mitzrayim. We did not become part of the Egyptian people. Right? Even Haman, when he coming to Achashverosh, you have 127 provinces, King Achashverosh, but there's one nation that's spread around all of them, but yet they stick out. They always stick out. That's the nation, the one that you can tell. They always look different. Why? Why do they look different? And even when a Jew tries to look like a goy, the goy will go and pick him out. No, you're a Jew. You're not a goy. You're a Jew. They'll pick them out. No matter how hard people try, you're still a Jew. They'll know that you're still a Jew. There's stories in the Holocaust like this. People who were assimilated and they were still picked out as Jews. There's a story with a man. I forgot where I heard this story. Years ago, I heard this story about a certain man who had assimilated. He married a shiksa, and he had kids with her, and he was totally assimilated. And when the Nazis came around, he knew he was a Jew. He didn't keep Judaism, but he knew he was a Jew. And he was caught, and he was sent to concentration camps. And I don't remember if it was on the train or when they were in there in the camps, and they saw the whole group, they're all, hundreds of Jews together, and they saw this man. He was crying and crying and crying, and he just couldn't be consoled. There was nothing. The guy wouldn't calm down at all. It just couldn't. And other people there said to him, we're in this together. We're with you. We're on the same. We all have the same tsaras. We all have the same problems here. But we'll lean on each other. We'll help each other. That's what Jews do. And this guy would just keep crying. He said, there's something wrong over here. Like, what's going on over here? So he said, I'm not like you. He said, I'm not like you. So why? He said, I wasn't, I might actually be Jewish, technically I'm Jewish, but I didn't keep Judaism. I was married to a goy. And when the Nazis came, I went to hide. And you know what happened to me? My wife gave me away. My wife led the Nazis to me. He says, that he saw that. What a sheker. Wow, my gosh, what have I done with my life? What have I done? But even that guy was pointed out, you're still a Jew. You, the one who's left everything. And we're gonna pick you out and we're gonna say, no, you're still a Jew. Even if you run away, you're still a Jew. We're still part of the Jewish nation, but we should be proud of that. We shouldn't throw away our labush, and we shouldn't throw away our lashonos and our names. Be proud to be a Jew. We say every day, Asher Bocher Bonu Mikol Amim. Hashem chose us over all the other nations of the world. We are the chosen people. We should be proud. Of course we're proud. We're the best. Kodesh Baruch Hu chose us. We are Hashem's nation. Now, just to finish it up for today, how does this bring into Shabbos? So here in the second paragraph in Daf Kuf Chav Zayin, Hu Adin Be'in Shabbos Kodesh. This is the same idea when it comes to Shabbos. Shekinoi Lemidas HaMalchus, like we discussed in Chelek Aleph. Shabbos and Malchus are connected. Another name for the Midah of Malchus is Shabbos. Hamida Hashvius, it's the number 7, like we discussed very, very beginning. That the seventh Midah is Malchus. And obviously 7, the 7th day of the week is Shabbos. Shabbos einu mitzvah kishar ha-mitzvah she'oisa adam be'echem eivarem. Shabbos isn't just one of the other mitzvahs. Now, I don't want putting down any mitzvah. every mitzvah is chashuv. Every mitzvah is chashuv. But Shabbos, and every mitzvah to a certain degree represents a certain part of the body. It's connected to a certain part of the body. But she says Shabbos is not just one of the other parts of the body. Every part of the body is chashuv. But Shabbos is not just one of the 248 limbs that a person has. Elahi kemidina la'atzma. It's like its own world. Sha'anoshim sheba mishanim. It's called Suras Chayim. Because on Shabbos has its own culture. Shabbos is a whole world. Shabbos is its own food, machalim. Mishtam, it has its own drinks and meals. Diburam, there's a different type of talk on Shabbos. Malbushim, there's different clothing on Shabbos. We call Esek Chayim, the whole day is different than the rest of the week. It's its own world. It's its own medina. It's like it's its own country, Shabbos. Shabbos, malchus acheres vo'ilam acher. It's a different world completely, Shabbos. It's a different leadership. It's a different everything. Lo rak b'toichan b'hargashas kedusha, elagam b'chitzonius b'tzuras hativ'it. Both inside and outside. Shabbos is different. The panemius of Shabbos is different than the rest of the week. And the chitzonius, the outsides of Shabbos, is different than the rest of the week. No matter where Klal Yisrael has gone in this long golus that we've been in, Shabbos, when Shabbos comes in, the streets, the Jewish streets, in many countries throughout the generations, there were ghettos. The Jews all lived together in a ghetto in a certain part of the city because the Goyim didn't want them to live amongst us. What a chesed! What a chesed that was! That Klal Yisrael could be together. That the Jewish people could be together if they were spread out. What kind of assimilation is there? When the Jewish people can live wherever they want, wow! How much assimilation there could be. No, you're a Jew. You have to live over there, specifically in the ghetto. You can't leave. He's the bracha is that. Like, what do you mean? We're lower class. That's how they wanted to do it to us. So you're lower class. But what a difference it made. Klal Yisrael was together. And because Klal Yisrael were together, everything changed. Shabbos, the streets changed. It was like a different country. Medina Cheres, Umma Cheres, you wouldn't be able to recognize it. It's something completely different. That's what happens on Shabbos. Shabbos is like a whole different malchus. Now, this is the malchus of Hashem. The rest of the week, we have to deal with things in this world. We have to live, and many times we live amongst the goyim, and we live in golus, even if we live in a ghetto, but you have to make a parnasa. And since throughout the golus, usually Jews were not allowed to own land, so working the land usually wasn't such a Jewish profession. They had to figure out other things that they had to do. Jews became money lenders. They had to interact with goyim, became financiers, right? Some of the most famous Jewish, whatever you would call them, millionaires, billionaires at the time, were the ones who financed the governments that they lived in. One of the most famous is the Barbanel, who financed the king and queen of Spain. But besides for that, in all the countries there were these people because they had to interact in order to make a parnasa for and to help others. So they had to interact with the goyim in the countries that they lived in. But come Shabbos, something completely different, a different world, a completely different world. Even the Anusim, the people who had to hide because of the Inquisition, and they really secretly kept their Yiddishkeit. When it came Shabbos, they hid and they had Shabbos meals, and it was different. They couldn't do it in public, but it was different because Shabbos created a whole different mitzvah. Okay, we're right in the middle over here, but we'll have to stop over here for today. Bez Hashem, next week we'll finish this parak and continue on with this topic. Bez Hashem.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.